Welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit. Joining me is Mr. Liam Hancock.
And
Mr. Ro Hancock.
Nice and early one.
Oh, I tell you what, it is a chilly winter's morning here in Hobart. Lee, you've got the fingerless gloves on, mate. How are they treating you?
They're combating the cold, you could say that.
Excellent.
What a fashion statement, just quickly.
What, we've had just about everything on this show in terms of get-ups and kits, but Lee, that is a new one for
Fingerless gloves aren't that out of the ordinary. Come on.
Well, on the podcast they are.
Why? It's cold.
A bit of ticker from you and I, Ro. It's good. Lads,
cold.
NBA Finals is in full swing this week. It has been a massive week, especially for yourself, Ro, our resident Boston fan.
Yes.
Mate, how are you just before, we'll delve into it a little bit deeper shortly, but how have you found this week? Is the anticipation, the excitement building?
Yeah, it's a combination of trying not to get too excited, but then when you get a game up, you start to look to the future a little bit and you start to think, geez, we're not too far away from the ultimate prize, but yeah, still a few games to go. So it's going to be interesting. I want you to have a
little bit of a think. We'll get into the NBA results, should I say, shortly. But I want you in the time leading up to that to have a think. Is the lid still on? I'll let you think about that.
I've been mulling this, but
I'll touch base with you shortly on that one. Guys, a big shout out to the Spotlight Sports Network, Pop Culture Pros, and The Cover. As we say, as always, absolutely stoked and delighted to be a part of those three networks doing wonderful things. Guys, be sure to like, subscribe, share the show wherever you listen to it, whether it's YouTube, as a video podcast intaker. Is that how you aptly put it?
Yep.
Or an audio listener on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those good providing services. And stay up to date with all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn.
Yep.
It's all happening. Yep. So, guys, stay up to date with them. We've got a lot to get through today, so let's get into it. Let's start with some odds and ends, and probably the biggest piece of news to come out of this week was Quin Snyder, head coach of the Utah Jazz, stepping down. Now, this is a huge piece of news and something we thought might be in the works for the last probably a couple of months since their demise and, they're kind of, again, a lackluster playoff performance. How do you feel about this one for the Jazz?
Yeah, it's sort of a little bit predictable, wasn't it? But as you're discussing, I think the whole NBA community was sort of seeing the end of Quin Snyder's term. And it's not one of these, I guess, nasty departures from the franchise either.
No.
I think it was sort of very mutual. I think his time there, he sort of understood had come to an end.
Yep.
And I think the Jazz were pretty happy to look elsewhere as well. So,
and he'll probably get a head coaching gig somewhere else.
No doubt.
Go back to the drawing board, Lee, for yourself. This move for the Jazz.
I mean, it's a big loss, I'd say. It was a big factor in, the success throughout the years.
What success?
I mean,
that's the problem.
I know, but
the regular season success, and then nothing
that they got to the finals however many times over the however
what
many
finals?
Years. The playoffs. It's too early.
The sun's only just gone.
I saw Donovan Mitchell said he wasn't too phased. I'd say that's a red flag.
He was a big reason as to why Mitchell signed that extension in 2020. The fact that Snyder was there, so it kind of begs the question: is Mitchell going to be happy with how this has all played out? I think from reports over the last couple of days, it's almost a given that more than likely Rudy Gobert will be the piece out and they'll build around Donovan Mitchell. I saw an interesting one during the week featuring the Jazz and the Chicago Bulls. So it would be Rudy Gobert heading to the Bulls.
Okay.
And for the Jazz, they would receive Vooch, possibly Pat Williams, Kobe White to make up the draft, the trade numbers there, the salary, should I say, and maybe a draft pick or something as well. But just on that hypothetical, how would we feel about that? Let's use it as that. Let's say Rudy Gobert goes to the Bulls and the Jazz receive Vooch, Pat Williams, and Kobe White.
So we'll look at it from the Bulls' perspective so far. So the Bulls receive multiple depoy, which is you can never, you're always happy to receive a incredibly good defensive player
on the edge of 30 as well.
Yeah, on the edge of 30, provides so much more on defense than Vooch ever did. But I guess on the other side of things, you're losing some up and coming really good prospects like Pat Williams. I don't think Bulls fans would be too keen to.
What would our man Apex think about that? I reckon he would be having a fit of that proposed trade there.
Potentially not if Apex has got anything to do with it.
Yep.
But what do you reckon?
Let's go.
I think you're giving up a bit too much, even though Rudy Gobert has improved offensively this year. I think I still think you're giving up too much in that trade.
Yeah, for me, I just think like for the Bulls, it's not going to be the piece that gets them over that hump into the top probably 4 of the East. They're giving it up a lot in terms of the young players. You know, if they make that move, they're a very old team now with DeRozan, Gobert. You know, Lonzo's still quite young. Caruso, Levine, like they don't have any real young guns. And I just don't think he's going to aid them that much. Gobert, like on the defensive end, sure, but where are they going to get that continued offensive output? It's very reliant on Lonzo Ball and Caruso staying healthy and stepping up.
And I think if you're the Bulls also, you'd want to make sure that you'd had Levine locked in before you make any of these big moves. Because Levine's still one of these guys who's rumoured to be heading out of Chicago. So you don't want to get Gobert in as that piece to get you over the line and then, lose Zach Levine and sort of 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
So what you're saying for that trade, Ro, is it's bullshit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get it? Get it? Classic.
Clarify.
The Bulls.
I get
Bullshit.
it, but it was just
absolute zinger.
A bit too early.
That was so bad. I hated it.
Oh, come on, mate. Lads, Michael Beasley is signing a deal in China in the CBA with the Shanghai Sharks. Former number 2 pick. Last played with the Lakers in the 2018-2019 season. And, again, it just adds another high-profile name to the CBA. And it's good to see some of these players with former NBA talent, whether it's bouncing around to the NBL, the Euro League, the CBA. It's good that there's so much talent worldwide now. Like the NBA is no doubt the pinnacle of basketball and the one we focus on most heavily, but there are really other, quality players around the world at the moment. And awesome to see him continuing to get back into the back onto the court there, onto the hardwood.
Oh, he'll ball out in China, and it's good for these players.
Yeah, some of these players, just quickly. I don't know if you were going to say it. Some of these players you see, like with former NBA talent, you can put up some ridiculous numbers in China, like 48s, 15s, and 7s, and just stupid box scores.
It's just the norm. And I think the CBA is one of these leagues throughout the world that actually contend with the NBA somewhat in terms of salary and payment as well. Like you can still go over there and not disadvantage yourself while still putting yourself out on show.
Get a bag.
Yeah.
Get a bag
just for a
later.
few years.
Get the bag and run straight to China.
Big Bezo.
Speaking of the Lakers, in other news, Rasheed Wallace has agreed to join Darvin Ham as an assistant under Darvin Ham. Both played in the 2004 Detroit Pistons championship-winning team. Ham said during the week they're really going to look down and make their identity on the defensive end, which is an absolute must because a couple of years ago they were the number 1 defensive team within the league and have taken a sharp trip off a cliff since that time. So I'm really getting, I say this every year, but I'm getting a real good positive buzz about what Ham's going to bring to this team because, with LeBron and AD and let's say Westbrook, you've got a punter's chance. You've got enough talent there. It's just very reliant on the complementary pieces and getting the right system in place. So I think Ham is the right man moving forward.
They've definitely gone in the right direction, the Lakers. But I was just thinking with this acquisition, any in-game roles throughout the season, imagine having those two big boys on the sidelines. Imagine Big Sheed coming on and providing a bit of backup to these blokes. Not that they need it, but
I'll tell you what,
it'd be handy.
Which series was it? Was it a couple of years ago when Ham was with the Bucks? Was it against the Magic or the Nets? And he was in a bit of a scuffle with the boys. Like he's one to step in. So I tell you what, I like it. We're getting a bit of heart back in the purple and gold there.
Yes, like to see it.
Fellas, let's move ahead to NBL odds and ends. I've got a few here. It's been a big week. Like the season's over, but the news is certainly not.
Yes.
I'll start with the Boomers squad that was announced during the week. Some names here to rip to and some familiar names for ourselves in Tassie. So the team will have 3 FIBA World Cup qualifiers coming up on the 20th of June against China, the 1st of July against Japan, and then once again on the 3rd of July versus China. So the team is, we'll start with the big name here for you, Ro.
Yes.
Matthew Dellavedova.
Go.
Mitch McCarron, Will McDowell-White, Sam McDaniel, Wani Swaka-Labullock, Todd Blanchfield, Clint Steindl, Jack White, Jack McVeigh, Keanu Pinder, Don Maker, and Sam Rowling.
Love to see the Jackies in there. First and foremost.
We got 3 in there. Jack McVeigh, Sam McDaniel, and Clint Steindl, skipper there.
All providing something a bit different.
Oh, it's fantastic to see. And, it's certainly deserved after their performances this season. Awesome to see your guy Delly there, Ro.
Yes, headlining the squad, and rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, he was always going to be there. But no, that's a pretty solid squad overall, and a lot to look forward to.
And it's just good. You look at all these other names who are actually, Australian players, your Matisse Thiebaults, all these, Josh Giddey's, Dyson Daniels, all these players coming up. Like, Australian basketball is in really, really healthy shape for probably the next 5 to 10 years, I would say. So a lot to look forward to there, and looking forward to seeing those games soon. NBL Finals MVP Xavier Cooks has signed a new 3-year deal with the Sydney Kings. He has got a clause in his contract that allows him for outs for, a EuroLeague or NBA offer. He has said since that he won't be attending Summer League. He's been there the last couple of years and says that all teams know what he's capable of. So he's just waiting for the call.
Yeah.
That's confidence in your abilities, isn't it? I won't go. I'll just wait for the phone to ring and I'll be on the next plane out.
So is it surprising that he hasn't got an NBA call-up, Xavier Cooks? I guess we look at him down here and he's just one of the most elite big men that probably the league's seen, really.
I'll tell you what, we're producing them now. You've seen Jock Landau go in, Xavier Cooks now, Joe Luala-Chul.
That's the name, though. Jock Landau, I thought he could potentially go in and, play a similar role. Like, Jock Landau hasn't, obviously he's not going to go onto a team and become the star player in the NBA, but he has provided really solid minutes for the Spurs when he's been on. I thought Xavier Cooks might be able to do the same thing for whatever team took a chance on him. And at the end of the day, we say it's taking a chance, but we know how good he is.
We know how good he is.
Even though the leap, is obviously quite big to the NBA. But he's still a quality player, and he deserves an NBA gig at some stage.
He does, absolutely. Even if he doesn't, though, just in terms of a league standpoint, it's awesome to see him stay because he just elevates that level. He is a tremendous player and a tremendous competitor.
Not good for the Jackies.
Not good for the Jackies.
Destroyed her.
In positive news for the Jackies, during the week, we did re-sign our star, Josh Midget, on a 1-year contract. Fantastic news there, Lee.
Yeah,
isn't
penguin.
It? The what?
He always reminds me of a little penguin.
Jet.
Up the floor.
Jet.
That's disrespectful.
Jet didn't think he'd get that kind of response from the re-sign.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But,
I'm saying, boys, you look like a penguin.
Doesn't he waddle up the floor like a penguin?
Yes, he doesn't.
He
runs
down
up
like
and
a jet.
pulls up from logo range. He's a weapon. Awesome for us though to get him back on that 1-year deal, and hopefully he can go that one step further and bring us a title. Still waiting on news on Josh Adams.
Not happening.
There's some ominous signs. I reckon money will prevail elsewhere. Probably looking at China as well. You can go hang out with bees there.
I think so.
But we'll keep our fingers on the pulse on that one.
He has provided a few sort of cryptic Instagram stories and comments on Instagram. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that.
Did see that.
But he more or less, I think I hate to say it, guys.
How he's traveling and moving, there was one.
Yeah.
But then he corrected himself that it was moving furniture and whatever around his house. But
I think the thing is he just wants a bit more. He wants to stay in Tassie. I think that's the feeling I'm getting. But if the money and the dollar signs aren't there, then, he's probably taking off elsewhere.
Speaks all languages, doesn't it?
It does.
Fellas, on the NBL, a team who they finished 7th in this offseason, they have made some massive moves over the last couple of days. The Adelaide 36ers have signed reigning Defensive Player of the Year and All-NBL first-team player Antonius Cleveland from the Hawks on a 2-year deal. This is a huge signing. It was awesome seeing this guy in person. He is a weapon, NBA experience as well with the Mavs and the Hawks. So he's got a huge pedigree coming with him. And, what an acquisition on both ends of the floor that is.
Oh, huge.
Complemented by the news yesterday that they have also signed import Robert Franks from the Brisbane Bullets, averaged 18 and 9 last season, was a shining light for them on the offensive end. They struggled last season. But these are huge acquisitions and really should bode well for them, in their kind of, rebuild and quest for a top 4 spot.
It's enormous acquisitions. And when you look at the free agency list and the guys who were available, those 2 guys were the blokes who were headlining the list. And for both of them to go to the City of Churches, that's just unbelievable. I think Adelaide will be right up there in contention next year.
I think so. I think so as well. With the other pieces they've got around and these kind of two players headlining. Also in talks with Xavier Mumford from the Phoenix there as well. So potentially another big acquisition. That one's still wait and see. But, I think I tell you what, next season, it's going to be a fun year. We'll definitely do an NBL preview, but there's a lot of talent going around, dispersed around the league. So
looking forward
can't wait for that one. Lee, can't wait as well next season.
Straight into the NBL.
NBL, you looking forward to it, mate?
Yeah, I need to get into it.
Yeah, no, you'll be right, Cobby. You'll be right. A lot happening. Guys, let's move ahead.
The Daily Dribble.
Okay. the NBA Finals. This is it. This is where the champions are made. On last week's show, we touched on game 1. Since that time, we've had games 2 and 3 play out, which we'll speak about in a moment. When you listen to the show, so we're doing this episode Saturday morning here. What's the time? We're looking at just under 3 hours till tip-off of game 4.
Yes.
So when you listen to this, 99% likely you'll be hearing it at the conclusion or during game 4. So, take whatever we're saying for before that game. But game 2 we'll start with, lads. The Warriors winning this one 107-88. Curry, 29 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 5 of 12 from 3. Tatum, 28 points, 6 rebounds, had a big game as well. How did we find this game? What did you think of how it all played out? The Celtics starting really well, up by as many as 7 in the first quarter, but went into halftime down 2. But as often the case, the Warriors, the third quarter is where they make their mark. They won that one 35-14, and unlike game 1, there was no comeback this time around. A lot of garbage time in that fourth quarter. It kind of blew out there.
It did.
It was out to as many as 29 points at one stage. But how did we find this game, lads?
Bit too laid back from the Celtics for my liking. They said we've got that game 1 and we can just chill for this game 2, which that shouldn't have been their mindset going in. Smart, Rob Will, and Horford, who came off a big game last game, all had 2 points each. 3 starters with a combined of 6 points. It was a very poor performance from Boston. Warriors kind of had to show up in this second game after their first game.
You couldn't lose 2 at home.
You couldn't. And they showed up offensively, which they pretty much always do. It's rare to see them not show up offensively, but then defensively they were there as well. Steph playing a bit more like we expected him to play. And then, like you said, that third quarter, they just killed their momentum. They'd have to be the best team in the league for killing momentum on the other team, because
third quarters are their bread and butter, aren't they? It's just incredible.
Like, not only Curry knocking down however many threes he did in that third, Jordan Poole from like the logo, that would have just been like
that was the point where you knew there probably wasn't going to be a comeback. Right on the edge of the third quarter, pretty much on the halfway line. Poole, I think that stretched it from 20 to 23, and 3 points, but it feels like an absolute world away. Row for yourself. This one, how did you find it?
Yeah, it was, well, going into it, you sort of thought it was a non-negotiable for the Warriors to win this. Like, they're a proud franchise, and they're a highly talented franchise as well, and you just couldn't really envisage them losing both games at home. And the Celtics, on the other hand, had one of these games, as Lee was mentioning before, where they left it all up to just a few blokes. And at the end of the day, the games that we're winning, particularly in the playoffs and the finals, we have contributions from all 5 starters plus bench.
Yes, the role players as well.
The role players as well. But in this case, it was left to the guys who generally do it on a night-in-night-out basis. Yeah. So I guess coming into the game, I sort of thought that the Warriors might come out as they, I guess, did in the end.
You'd take the split, though, wouldn't you?
I would definitely take the split. Like, that's, from a Boston perspective, to get at least a 1 in San Fran to begin the series, that was enormous. But Golden State did what they had to do in game 2.
They just turned up the pressure a little bit more, because there were so many open threes in that first game. They had they won the turnover battle, Boston 18 to the Warriors 12 in this one, which was a huge point of difference. And the physicality in this one, I've watched this game a couple of times, had it on repeat at work the last few days, and the physicality, it was a pretty tough whistle to get in this one, which I liked. It really felt like playoff ball, which I enjoyed. And I will say, we'll speak about it in a moment, game 3, but I liked how in that fourth quarter, when the game was pretty much done, Steve Kerr sat all the starters, bar Klay Thompson. He had a pretty, average game again, 4 of 19 from the field, 11 points, 1 of 8 from 3, but left him in the game just to try and get him a bit of rhythm and routine and get him firing again, because he's been pretty ordinary those first 2 games, and it seemed to work well in game 3.
He's such an intelligent coach, Steve Kerr. Like, you think of most coaches in the same situation with a star player, they would have just automatically gone to the bench for the rest of the game, iced them up. But to keep him on, just for the simple fact of, yes, you haven't had a great game, but we need a bit of momentum heading into this next one. Only the really high IQ coaches would do that.
I feel like we've got to also, at least I want to talk about Draymond Green in that game and the intensity he brought. Straight from the tip, it was the first possession, he, got a jump ball.
Yep.
Second possession, or later on, he got teed up after barking at Grant Williams. And then I don't know if you saw the legs on Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
Usually, if you're teed up, you usually don't do things like that. But I absolutely loved it because I feel like he was a massive factor in Golden State winning that game. He brought that intensity and that toughness.
Been dog shit.
No, he was dog shit last game. But
he's been horrible.
Stat-wise?
Across the board.
We're talking about game 2 here, not game 3. Yeah. It was horrible game 3. Game 2 was one of the biggest reasons they won the game.
Walked a very fine line between getting thrown out. Isn't
that what you want in the finals?
He's fouled out 2 times in 3 games now. He just walks a very, very fine line, and you need him to set the tone, but you need him on the court as well.
Well, it's a pretty hard line to set between hyping up your team with that intensity and getting thrown out. I think game 2 he did that perfectly. Game 3, which we'll get to in a minute, he didn't do that so well.
Didn't do it quite as well, did he?
But game 2, I think it'd be unfair to leave him out of the conversation. I think it was a massive reason as to why they won it, and I'd say a lot of people would agree with me.
Oh, I don't know. I just think he's been really, really poor so far.
Okay, what about Rowe then? If you think he's bad, I think that game 2 he was a big factor. What do you think?
I think he was a marginal factor. I don't think he was a big factor.
I disagree.
I did think he had some sort of contribution. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, anyway.
Game 3 then. The Celtics winning this one 116-100. Took early control. Steph getting 2 fouls in the first 6 minutes wasn't ideal. They kept him in, but it had him on tender hooks there. Warriors were down by as many as 18 in the second half, but second quarter, should I say, but went in down 12, 68-56.
Yep.
Jaylen Brown had some first half, 22. Bless me. That's awesome. Bless me.
Bless you indeed.
22 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists at half time. And you kind of thought at this point, the way he started this game, he was going for 50.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Were you watching this one live, bro?
Yeah, I was watching it on and off. But yeah, geez, it was one of these games which we've seen over the course of his career that he's certainly capable of. He is one of the hot, streakiest players in the league. When all cylinders are firing for Jaylen Brown, he could go for 50 to 60 on any given night.
That first half in this game was one of those games where it kind of made me. I think we've all pretty well got Tatum as that number 1 now, but it kind of made me think this game. It changes on a week-to-week basis. But it was not just 1 and Jaylen Brown 2. It was 1A and 1B.
Yes,
the way he performed and took control. If Tatum's having an off night, he's there ready to go.
He is.
Told you that's why Jaylen Brown's my finals MVP, because he's just got more consistency than Tatum. I feel like more often nights than not, he's going to go out and have a pretty big game.
Well, we'll get to that in a moment, but I'll back you up on this one. I'm with you there.
Okay, you switched up from Horf. After his 2-point performance in game 2.
Curry started to cook though in that third quarter, got back-to-back threes. Just got his 4th foul early in that third quarter, though. And again, it was one of those ones that almost holds some momentum just a little bit because it kind of gets you playing on edge a little bit more so.
Yes,
but they really, again, as is always the case, that third quarter, they fought back, actually got a lead in this one, 83-82.
Yeah.
Ended on a poor run to end the quarter. So went down 4 going into the last. Really the sign of a potentially championship-winning team. The Celtics just put the foot down while Curry was off. Like, they just got that early jump on them, and they couldn't recover. So, what was the end score? Did I say 116-100? Like, they really, really dominated. 11 points they conceded in that fourth quarter, and put the game to bed. The big thing to come out of this one. Now, haven't heard any updated news, but Curry went down, had an MRI on that foot of his. He was skeptical the other day for game 4. All reports coming out,
he's fine.
He's fine to go, but it was a bit concerning when it happened.
In the moment,
if they lose him, the series is over. So
big factor to this series is how Boston responds to Golden State's run. In this game 3, fourth quarter, they just did brilliantly. I was saying how much of a momentum killer Golden State is. It's like I've just played normal social basketball, and it's so hard to get that momentum back after
once it swings hard.
Once it swings. So to be able to do that is a massive up for Boston.
And you know what they did as well, what was so great about their performance? How's this? So let me just read these 3 box scores for the key 3 players there. Tatum, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists.
Huge.
Jaylen Brown, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists.
Massive.
Marcus Smart, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Williams also had 8 points, 10 rebounds. Horford, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Getting, those top three, massive, massive contributions, backed up with Rob Williams, Al Horford. It was just a huge performance from their starting five. In comparison, Curry did his bit, 31 points, 4 rebounds. Clay, 25, 3 and 3. Better performance from him, best we've seen in a while. And Wiggins had 18 points. Not getting enough, though. Now, this is, I agree, Draymond was decent in game 2.
Wasn't in game. The only thing he gave him in game 3 was 2 points and 6 fouls.
6 fouls. And this is so let's translate this to moving ahead in the series. I think he's the big turning point. He's meant to be their defensive, kind of their stopper, set the tone. Yep. But they need some offensive output.
They do, yeah.
Like if they're essentially with him and Kevon Looney, it's playing a 3-man offense with Clay, Curry, and Wiggins. They've got to get a little bit from him. And, it impacts on both ends of the floor. If you're feeling yourself on offense, you're playing well on D. If you're playing well on D, you're feeling yourself on offense.
Correlates, yeah.
It does. So I think he's a huge part of this series moving forward. Ro, I'm going to fire back to you now. So we've got game 4 tipping off shortly.
Yes.
2-1 up. Heading back, or game 4 in Boston today. Chance to go 3-1 up. Is the lid on?
The lid's still on.
You're full of it. You are full of it.
Long story short, the lid is well and truly still on.
It couldn't be.
I think
it couldn't be.
But you got to look at the opposition you're coming up against. The Golden State Warriors, you can never feel safe against them. Like, even if we were to go 3-1 up, the lid, even though it would have been unscrewed somewhat, it's still on. Like, it's only off once I can...
If it's 3-1, I reckon you're going to get a tattoo.
Only off once
2022 champions.
Yeah, potentially.
Once the confetti falls, that's when the lid comes off.
Yeah,
when I see like Kobe.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that. Once we see the green coming from the roof, then that's a different story.
No. Well, okay, let's go ahead to game 4 then. Predictions. It's going to be done by the time people listen to this, but what's our field predictions for game 4?
Where's it at?
Boston.
Probably have Boston again. In game 3, we saw a lot of that dribble drive penetration from Boston. It got them right where they wanted, and it was in the paint, and that's where they scored a majority of their points. And you just wonder, in game 4, they're probably going to do this again, and how's Steve Kerr going to combat that? Is it a matter of bringing some bigger bodies on the floor, maybe Kuminga or something?
I think it could be a case of possibly, depending how it goes, less Draymond time, more Kevon Looney time.
Maybe, yeah. Is it a case of, feel the paint with a bit more defense, but then allow that kick out 3 and hope they miss? Like, it's a hard thing to combat that. But I think Boston will probably, use the same tactics and follow that momentum into game 4. And I reckon they'll probably take it 3.
You know what? I'm sensing a bit of deja vu, to be perfectly honest. So the first game we came out all guns firing, and then Golden State bounced back into that second game.
Yep.
Third game we ended up getting the job done. I think Golden State again, it's going to be a real tug of war this series. I honestly do think it's going to be 1-for-1, which, it might result in a game 7. I think Golden State probably might take this one. They're a proud franchise, and I think they can get a few more contributions from their entire roster. And if things don't fall the way that Boston would ideally like it to, in terms of, I guess, Smarty getting on the board, Al Horford, Rob Williams even, I think the Golden State Warriors are definitely in contention to take this game 4 in Boston.
Oh, this is a huge game. It is huge. I can't wait because there's so much that hinges on it, should I say. If it's 3-1 Boston win, it's not curtains, but there's only one team in history that's ever come back from a 3-1 deficit. So it bodes really well. Likewise, if the Warriors get it back at 2 apiece, heading back with home court advantage, the momentum completely shifts.
It does,
for myself, key little stat in this one being neither of these teams have lost back-to-back games in the finals.
Yep.
So as soon as they've had a loss, they've bounced back with a win. I see that continuing. I think I kind of feel similar to you, Ro, not just because I picked the Warriors in this series, but I just feel like they're, going to bounce back in this one. And I think they probably understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
Their championship pedigree is phenomenal. They're one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. Been there multiple times. They know the importance of this game. So I'm expecting them to bounce back and head back to the Bay Area at 2 apiece. But again, I think the key to this one is Draymond Green.
Yep.
A lot hinges on him. I expect Curry to go bananas. Plenty from Clay, plenty from Wiggins, but I think Draymond, he just needs to stay on the court. He can't foul out. They've got to keep him on the court. So.
I think that's the important thing. I don't think, like you were saying, his offense output, I don't think that matters too much. I think it's a matter of staying on the court, getting under 6 fouls.
Just the Warriors on that offensive side, when you look at that box score and what the Celtics did, 3 blokes, 24 points or over, Rob Williams had, was it 10 or 11, Horford 8, and then you got Derek White coming off. They've just got so many consistent, scoring options. Whereas the Warriors are so reliant on Curry at the minute, and I guess Clay and Wiggins, but they just need a few other avenues. They need Paul to step up off the bench and just get everything firing.
How do you combat the size and physicality of the Boston Celtics? Because even after the first quarter, I can tell Golden State is tired.
They're wearing them out, aren't they?
Yeah. It's hard to combat, really, from the Golden State perspective, because the Celtics, when you look at them overall, are much bigger, much more athletic roster than the Golden State Warriors. So the Golden State Warriors just have to stick to their strengths. The Boston Celtics strengths are obviously going to be height, strength, athleticism. Golden State Warriors need to kill them from the outside, and they certainly do need more contributors, because if it's going to be a Steph versus Boston Celtics or a Steph and Clay versus Boston Celtics kind of game, then the Boston Celtics will undoubtedly get up, and we've seen that over the games that Boston have won so far this series. So stick to your strengths if you're the Golden State Warriors.
In that game too, who else apart from Steph Curry stood up or stood out on the Golden State Warriors? Was there more? I can't remember.
There would have had to be. I can't remember.
There wasn't any, outstanding performances bar Steph. They just got enough from everyone else, which is kind of the key. They need just enough. They don't need everyone to be great. Curry can be great.
Yes.
But the worry is that everyone's not being great at the moment. I just don't know.
Yeah, it was a lot of 11 points. Like everyone just had an out.
Sometimes that's all you need.
So.
But Jordan Poole had 17, which I'd like to see again.
Yep.
Bit more than what, like 10, like even 10? I don't even know if he got that.
Well, let's transition to finals MVP at this stage and moving forward. Let's reassess that little chestnut. Lee, you're saying Jaylen Brown?
Still sticking with JB, yep.
Tell you what, he's looked good, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's looked good across those 3 games. Tatum had was it a stinker in game 1? Oh, on the offensive. Plenty of assists.
Couldn't knock it down.
JB's been a lot more consistent, hasn't he?
Yep. And I'm sticking with him. For those reasons.
You and I, Nick, we went with Big Al to after that game 1. And, at the time it was
had him leading it. He was leading it after game 1. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely it was. I think it may have changed slightly since then. I think for mine, Jaylen Brown, he's been the most consistent. He looks like he's a guy who could, lead us to the championship this year.
Yep.
So I'd be going with Jaylen at this point.
I'll stick with who I had at the start. Like going into the series, Steph Curry. I guess the point in this being, if Boston win, like the series and the NBA champions, it's going to be a lot harder to decide if it's Smart, is it Tatum, is it Brown, is it Horford if he goes bananas the next few games. There's a lot of other pieces there. If the Warriors win, it is undoubtedly Steph Curry.
Yes.
He's putting up massive numbers, and I think for the Warriors to win, he's going to consistently have to do that. I tell you what, Ro, that's
that's burning the old eyes.
Bit ordinary there, Lee. Do you want to grab on the old shades duty there? Look at that. That is. What do they call that? The afternoon glow. Yeah, there we go.
That's
Look at that. That's not it. Keep going.
Just above the. Yeah, that might do. Yeah, thank you.
A little bit more.
Teeth are looking white.
There we go. You're back in business.
Good stuff. Thank you.
You look like not that I'm a huge fan or anything, but Twilight. When Robert Pattinson takes the shirt off and starts shimmering.
Yeah, I'll take that for sure.
Batman. You've got a bit of that look about you,
We seem to have this issue with these morning pods, don't we?
Yeah.
The sun just rises over the hills and
not good for anyone.
Blinds us. Yeah, not good at all.
Tell you what, though, it's going to be a hell of a series. Game 4, we are looking forward to tuning into that one shortly.
Yes. Let me ask you this before we move on.
I've got one more question too.
How important and impactful is this game for?
Wait, what?
For whoever wins. So
it's huge.
Is it like one of the biggest games?
Yeah, it's either 3-1 or it's 2-2 with home court advantage.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the key game possibly in this series.
It is.
If Boston win, I think whether it goes 5, 6, or 7, I reckon it's probably over if they win this one. I don't want to, touch wood, but I reckon this one could just about seal it.
I'm with you, and I think Golden State know that, and that's why I think they're coming out all guns blazing today.
At the Garden, how are they going to...
The Garden will be rocking, mate. Don't you worry about it. If the bands are rocking, don't come knocking, Lee. Brilliant, fellas. Hopefully, well, what do you reckon? Last question before we move on.
Yep.
I haven't checked the game schedule. I think what's today? Today's Saturday. One on Monday, probably one on Thursday. I'll have to have a look. But do you think by the time we record next week, we will have an NBA champion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I think it might be all done and dusted by then. Hopefully in the Boston Celtics' favour.
Let me just check this one out.
I think the only way that it can be done is if Boston Celtics win.
No, Tuesday's game 5 here.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh.
Good on.
Friday game 6. So
Friday
we could be
6.
recording later that night, possibly if we do a Friday night pod with an NBA champion.
Celtics in 6 might be the one we're looking at this stage.
Oh,
yeah, it could be done and dusted.
I'm gonna say no. Yeah. I think it's going 7. I'm sticking 7.
Okay. I think it'll be done in 6.
Be a huge episode next week,
wouldn't it? Yeah.
Wow,
it's going to be very dependent on today's game.
Yep.
If Celtics get up, I think Celtics in 6. Warriors get up, I can definitely see it going 7.
Beautiful, fellas. Looking forward to it. Let's move ahead.
The Daily Dribble.
Now, this is huge. A segment we've been doing the last couple of weeks. Draft deep dive, fellas. It's really kind of creeping up. The NBA draft. 23rd of June. So this is our penultimate.
Is that last one?
No, second last.
Okay.
Steady on.
God, I love this segment. Gives me such a good insight on the draft.
It does. It's so fun watching all the clips, just sussing out these players. And as we've said in weeks gone by, you do get that attachment to those players, and you're looking forward to seeing how they play out.
Can you name your last 2 that you've done?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I had Jaden Hardy.
Okay.
And Osman Deng.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had Jabari Smith Jr. and Ty Washington.
Yeah, I had Malachi Branham.
We go through the notes here.
I know Ro's other one, Johnson or something.
Johnny Davis. How could I forget Johnny? Yeah.
I tell you
Trust me, when they're in the league and they're performing really well,
you won't forget their name.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Going names that aren't too hard to remember.
Yeah, Malachi Branham, that one was a stooge. Yeah.
I might start this week, actually, fellas.
Please do.
I have gone for, I'm not much of a swimmer. Anyone who knows me, I'm not much of a swimmer. So I thought, it's been a long swim back to shore. I thought I'd frolic around in the shallows for a little bit here.
Kiddie pool.
Play around in the white water that's just crashing. Because I know you and I, we've been out in the boards.
We've been going down.
We've been out in the boards together, and getting stuck out at the back of the waves and trying to come in.
It's not fun.
Oh, mate, it's horrible. You just think you're never going to come back in.
But what you're saying is you're on your way back in, eh?
I'm on my way back in. Yeah. So I've gone for Benedict Mathurin.
Oh, you're lucky because I was going to do it.
I've got him.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I know. That's what got me. Benedict. What a sick name. Would you go by so my name's Nicholas. I get Nick. If you're Benedict, are you going Dick? No. Dick. Or are you going Ben?
I'm going the full name.
Or Benedict. Are you a full name guy?
I think the name Benedict is cool enough to roll with
cool,
Benedict.
Yeah.
If you do a Ben on him, it's just
a bit boring.
That's for Benjamin.
Yeah, facts.
Eggs Benedict.
Well, Benedict here is a 6'6" shooting guard. He's 19, will turn 20 later this month, so heading into the draft. 210 pounds, so he's got a good sized frame on him.
Yep.
Played for the Arizona Wildcats, where he averaged 17.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, as well as a steal a game, on 45% shooting and 37% from 3. So very impressive statistics there. Some of the pros of him, compared to some of my players gone by who have been slimmer builds, this guy has got a body built for the NBA already. He's got really strong upper body. His torso there is just, going to match it with the heaviest hitters within the league from the word go. He's not, an unfreaky ability level athlete, should I say, but he's got a pretty good quick first step. So he's got plenty of bounce as well, that being probably one of his biggest strengths, his ability over the rim and scoring. He's a great rebounder with that body, and his ability, what I noticed watching tape of him, getting up and getting those boards, but then with that ability and that explosiveness, getting up the court. He's a competent ball handler. He's quick and scores well off the dribble, which I like as well. Again, his handle and passing are both skills that have a little bit of work to go, but he's got that raw potential there to grow. He's shown really good flashes. And as well, it's not all offense with him.
Mm.
I reckon he's got the potential. Really solid defender, 6'9" wingspan. He's going to cause a lot of grief on the defensive end.
Yeah.
And again, another player, a big thing for me, I guess, when I've been scouting these players, is looking
at
at
binoculars out. Did you?
Yeah, mate. Getting the players who have that ability to guard multiple positions.
Yeah, huge.
His size, fantastic, but his speed, his wingspan, got all the makings of someone who could, I reckon, terrorize most opposition players.
Yeah.
What stood out though was just, again, that explosiveness. I think he's going to be, like, if you've got him in a straight line sprint, not going to be the quickest by any means, but I reckon in that explosive first couple of yards, going to be up there with the best of the best within the league. Within the league, not the draft class, the league. Yeah,
Jeez.
John Wall, Russell Westbrook-esque.
That's what I was going to say. He sounds a bit Russell Westbrook-esque.
So, yeah.
You'll take that any day of the
He's
week.
probably pretty similar with a slightly better outside stroke and better on the defensive end.
I just want there to be a superstar in the league named Benedict.
Yeah, same. How fun would that be?
Yes. Yeah, he needs to ball out.
Rookie of the year, Benedict Mastura.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it.
I just want to see if the first Benedict to come to mind is the same for you as me.
Oh, it's Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
What other Benedict?
I was about to say Benedict Wong. He was also in Doctor Strange.
Yes.
How's that? Having two
like
lead actors in the same movie named Benedict.
The chances
very low. Room for improvement with this guy. Now, I've sung his praises, but the shooting is a little bit streaky at times.
Yeah.
As is often with a lot of these young players, they'll go really hot one game and come back to earth very quickly after that. And with that comes often, not often, should I say, sometimes poor shot selection.
Okay.
Just not knowing the feel for the game and taking, unrealistic, shots that aren't in the flow of the offense or aren't, high percentage.
Bit of Joshy Adams. It's like Josh Adams.
No.
He does that.
Mate, you're doing not any favours for Jack Jumpers today. You're bashing on
does
Jet.
do that. I didn't bash on Majet. I called him a little penguin.
In what world is that a compliment?
No, in penguin world.
Deary me.
He sometimes gets caught ball watching as well, allowing easy cuts to the basket. I noticed that a few times. You're watching games, not his highlights, because they never show this stuff. But watching games, he sometimes just gets caught ball watching, and so many times that back cut undid him.
James Harden defense.
And with that, he sometimes as well with his ball. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he forces to play sometimes a little bit too much as well. He's almost too eager to find a teammate or create as opposed to slowing the play down.
Yep.
So I think if he gets in the right team with a good structure and gets better in the flow of the offense, it's going to help him just not only facilitating but also his own scoring. Because at the minute with the Wildcats, he's just kind of trying to do too much himself, and then not having enough gas on the defensive end.
Yep.
A player, I think, from all reports looking into it, all scouting reports have him in that 6 to 12 range. Okay. Most commonly, probably around the 8th range. So he's not in the top tier of this year's draft, but he's probably in that second batch.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think he's got a
Cumberbatch. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't get it out.
No, that's all right. I'm with you. He's I think he's going to be one of those players who's probably going to finish in the top couple of Rookie of the Year just because he's going to get, I think, highlight plays, and he's going to do it on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what Benedict can do.
I did see his name, and it did stand out to me when I was.
I thought one of us, someone else, might have got him as well.
And I'm glad you went with him. I'm glad we gave him a bit of the spotlight. I'll go next though. My boy is AJ Griffin. Heard much of him?
You got him as well.
Yeah, I've heard a fair bit about him.
No.
Okay, we'll make it a combined scouting report, I guess. I'll start us off, Lee. 6'6", shooting. 6'6", small forward out of Duke. He's another prospect. It's almost every prospect I've had in this segment has been very unpredictable as to where they're going to end up in the draft. Are they going to end up 7? Are they going to end up 17? We just don't really know at the moment.
Makes it a fun class, doesn't it? And it makes it hard for these teams, which route they go.
Yeah.
Trying to predict the board.
That's exactly right. And, each team will have their own individual needs for what they require. But I think any team who's getting maybe a top 15 to 20 pick this year is going to be getting someone pretty solid from what I've seen.
Yep.
So I think even if he does fall to, if around the 15 mark, that's going to be an absolute steal for whoever ends up with him. AJ Griffin is one of the best shooters in this NBA draft.
Cheers.
Have
you got his field goal percentage there?
I've got his beyond the arc percentage. Beyond the arc percentage in his freshman season with Duke, 44%.
44.7.
44.7 if you want to put it to the decimal point. But
44.7.
yes, that's unbelievable.
Jesus, what was his field goal percentage in?
It had 54% from the field,
Jeez.
which is pretty damn good as well.
It's good regardless. But
what's his free throw? He could be part of the 50, 40, 90 club.
Absolutely could.
Wow,
so he's a ready-made shooter. But one of the other things, and probably something that you found out as well, Lee, similar to Nick's Benedict, is he's got one of the most NBA-ready bodies.
Yes.
If you've seen his highlights, he's a big boy. He's bullying the opposition blokes, because you think of the opposition guys in college, a lot of them are still skinny builds, still got a lot of weight to put on.
Chet Holmgren.
Yes.
Yeah. Chet, we're looking at. Yeah.
String Bang.
Not AJ. AJ is a bad man. He's going to come into league. He's not going to be pushed around. No. He's going to be a triple threat, because he's good from beyond the arc.
Yep.
He's got the physicality, but he's also really good on defense. He's a defensive beast. Do you want to say a bit more about his defense, Lee?
No, you keep going, and then I'll be the bad cop, and I'll shine on his
bad cop.
Oh, I love this.
Straight from the playbook.
I didn't want to give the constructive criticism. But yeah, on the defensive end, similar to Malachi last week, he's got a 7-foot wingspan.
Yep.
Just incredibly useful on the defensive end. If you're locking a guy up on the perimeter, if you get those little sneaky steals, deflections, anything. And speaking of those deflections, on the defensive end, he's touted as being one of the most highly intelligent defensive players in the league. He seems to be a step or two ahead of the opposition, always able to read what they're doing and pick it up and have those little deflections, as you were saying. So he's no doubt going to cause some headaches for the opposition on the defensive end as well. And I think the way that the league is headed, these 3-and-D players are becoming so valuable, and all the NBA scouts will be looking for that combination. If you can find, it's like in NBA 2K, if you find the right build, you're onto something special. And I think in this case, 3-and-D, NBA-ready body, intelligent. He's got a lot of box ticked. Now, the boxes that he doesn't have ticked.
I'll talk a little bit good about him. He excels with the catch and shoot. That's where he does excel, especially from beyond the arc. But he has shown the ability and a lot of ability to create his own shot, and he'll continue to work on that. But he can, pop off the screen, like off momentum. He's good in that aspect. Now, there is concerns on what he'll bring to the table in games where he can't knock down his threes. We've seen it with like Duncan Robinson. When he hasn't been able to knock down his threes, he's been completely
out of the rotation.
Gone.
But if he can bring that defensive side, then at least they'll have that input there. There's also concerns. He missed a lot of the start of this season with an injury. So there's those injury concerns, of course. What
was it?
I can't remember what it was. To be honest.
I think it was niggling injuries from the sounds of it. But
a pussy, just little bits and pieces.
He came home strong though.
And he's
with a wet sail, mate.
Yes, with a wet sail.
And he's around that 10 to 15 mark. But I reckon the injuries niggling will probably keep him out of that top 10. But he reminds me, from what I've seen, of with a really, really, really high upside, and I don't think he'll probably reach this upside.
There we go.
You're looking at
shoot for the moon.
You're looking at like Jaylen Brown or Jimmy Butler, but I think he'll be more like a player, maybe like Desmond Bane or Buddy Hield, in my opinion.
Desmond Bane sounds like a pretty good comparison, just based on what he's doing from three and like his size, because that guy's built like a. He's built like a brick. He's got the best arms in the league, I reckon.
Oh, yeah.
Without
biceps are unbelievable.
He's got biceps on biceps.
Stephen A. loves his muscles.
Yeah, I do too. I'm very
envious. I go, mate, I wish I was you. But you'd be looking at yourself in the mirror a fair bit, wouldn't you?
Bloody oath. So that's a good comparison. And I reckon if whichever team gets him, if that's the way he's kind of heading, that's a huge, huge pickup.
I have seen, likewise, I have seen the Jimmy Butler comparisons as well. And I can sort of see it. I can see he's got the same build, and he's got the same aggressiveness and tenacity on the defensive end.
What's his car mirror situation like?
Car mirror, I think
rear
he's
view
still got the
mirrors.
rear view mirror on his
Yeah,
car.
they're still attached.
All right, then they're cut from a
Please-
different cloth. Then.
Please offer some context because we haven't talked about that.
No,
for about
they can
2
look it up.
years.
They can look it up.
The Jimmy Butler story.
Yeah,
that
you
he-
got to give some context.
that he
We
doesn't
haven't-
have his rear view mirror because he doesn't like looking in the past.
That was something that happened.
It's
He
huge.
I don't remember when it was, but Jimmy Butler took off his rear view, so he didn't see the pass, only forward.
I really don't want to burst the bubble here, but I did look this
Don't
up.
let it ruin a
Is
good
it?
story.
Is it fake?
I
No.
think we might put a bit of mustard on that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think Jimmy came out and said that it wasn't true. But let's just pretend it
Can we
is
still-
true for the
no.
sake
Funner
of
if
it.
you pretend.
Yeah,
it's true.
Sorry to burst the bubble. I was hesitant to do it, but just in case people fact checked us. And
Hey,
they
It's
saw
like
it.
when you go fishing, you didn't catch just a little flathead, you caught a 27-foot marlin.
Yeah,
Don't let
exactly.
it ruin a good
No one's
story.
ever see it. Yeah.
AJ
Yeah, exactly. No
AJ
pictures.
Griffin, though, a fun name, rolls off the
Yes.
tongue so well.
Fun name, and I tell you what, it's good because I tell you what, I've been putting in a lot of time recently watching Family Guy and Stewie Griffin. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I
the
always
Griffin
watch it.
name?
Yeah.
We're calling him Stewie.
yeah, little Stew man. I tell you what though, we're going next week. We're going to have probably our last installment before the draft of Draft Deep Dive. Just so far, we've assembled a squad of 9 players, each having done 3 each, and none of these are you went Jabari there,
Yeah.
but like we've kind of hung around the 9 to 10 plus range. Like there's a lot of talent deep within this league. The top couple, the top 3 are interchangeable, but are all pretty, I think, set in stone. But after that, this draft is wide open.
It is.
And I think, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have a player like a Luka Doncic or a Trae Young at that superstar level in this class. In that time, kind of same time frame.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have a lot of really good, solid NBA players.
That's what I love about this draft.
Really good players.
Most drafts in the past have had tiers. So 1 to 3 are top tier. Then it might be like 4 to 6. In this draft, it's 1 to 3 being that top tier, obviously. And then past
4
that,
to 20.
it's pretty much anyone's
literally.
game.
It is very open. So certainly looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing how a couple of Aussies go, there in Usman Deng, not Australian French, but coming from the NBL. But, you got your Dyson Daniels, Luke Travers, hopefully. We'll get a bit of a gig here to name the Perth Wildcats, who we've seen over the last couple of seasons.
I mean,
Pretty
Dyson
low
Daniels
down on the board. But
is from Tassie, no? He's a bit closer.
No,
is
he's
he?
not from Tassie.
No.
Who were we talking about who's from Tassie? You were talking about
Taz.
Taz.
Yeah.
Taron Armstrong. That's the one. I knew
okay.
that.
Yeah, you did.
You got them mixed up.
Yeah, so
Taz talk. Where did that
the
go?
bit of Taz talk was a segment. Didn't kind of catch on like our giddy
I
segment.
remember
there,
Rogue
but-
with a serious face says he was going to talk about him every week.
Everyone.
Yeah, I've been following Taz. Sure, I have.
What's his updates?
Yeah, he's going well. Playing
Good.
basketball and whatnot.
Excellent. Fellas, some week it's been. It's, this is honestly possibly the last week of basketball we're going to have for a little while now.
Yep.
Yes.
They've got no more than 4 games remaining. How sad's that?
It brings a tear to my
It does bring a tear to my eye too, but you know what's great? We just alluded to how much news there was in the NBL today. The same with the NBA. Draft coming up, free agency, the off-season. There's heaps of news going on. So, guys, be sure to stay up to date with this. All of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. Subscribe, share, listen, wherever you listen to the show. Do all that good stuff for us because we will have plenty of news coming up in the off-season. I think the plan is possibly bit of a holiday for the team, possibly.
Yeah.
Bit of a break. We'll come back refreshed, reinvigorated. We'll see how we go. We're still knocking out some plans there, but we're going to have a lot coming next season. We're speaking about possibly having a designated, a half an hour a week NBL episode. A couple of different things in the works here. So there's plenty of news going on.
Absolutely.
Bro, game 4 today, mate. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
I tell you what are we now at the time of ending recording just about? We are 2 hours out
2 hours out
from tip-off. How are you feeling?
Nervous
or excited?
No, yeah, very nervous. I'm anticipating Golden State to come out all guns firing.
Yep.
Tell you what, though, that lid's loosening if we get up today. Not to the point where it's off, but to the point where
I reckon it'll blow.
You can
if
sort of
you
see
win today, I think it's coming off.
You can sort of
3-1
see the
lead, what do you
liquid
reckon? Is it
inside.
coming off if he...
God, it has to.
Yeah.
Come off for me.
fully off, you reckon?
Mate,
Fully?
Yeah,
fully
it's
off.
Oh,
blown
wow,
off.
okay.
mate, best of luck for today.
Thank you
Certainly
very much.
not rooting for you, but...
Why not?
No, I picked the Warriors. I'm going for the Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't, as a Lakers fan, go for the Celtics.
You can't.
no.
You
with
can't.
a, with a
Absolutely
clear
not.
conscience, can I? But
That's very old school of you to say.
looking forward to a wicked game, nevertheless. Guys, thank you once again for listening. We've had an absolute blast here on a chilly winter's Saturday morning.
Saturday.
Guys, till next week, enjoy what's going to be a massive week of NBA action, and we'll talk to you soon. From Ro, Lee, and myself, love you, bye.